Elizabeth Taylor finally breaks silence on Eddie Fisher. Elizabeth Taylor was born Dame Elizabeth Rosamond Taylor on February 27, 1932, in Hampstead, London, England. Elizabeth was born to American parents residing in England. Her father, Francis Len Taylor, was an art dealer, and her mother, Sarah Southern, a retired stage actress. When World War II escalated, the Taylor family relocated to Los Angeles, California, where young Elizabeth's path toward stardom would soon begin. Encouraged by her mother and blessed with an almost ethereal screen presence from a young age, Taylor entered the film industry as a child actress. She made her screen debut in There's One Born Every Minute, 1942, but it was her role in National Velvet, 1944, when she was just 12 years old, that catapulted her to national fame. Her performance as a determined young girl who trains a racehorse to victory demonstrated not only her youthful charm, but also her emotional depth as an actress. As she matured, Elizabeth transitioned seamlessly into more complex adult roles, earning critical acclaim and establishing herself as a serious performer. During the 1950s and 1960s, she delivered a string of unforgettable performances in films such as A Place in the Sun, 1951, Giant, 1956, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, 1958, and Suddenly, Last Summer, 1959. Her portrayal of Maggie in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, opposite Paul Newman, showcased her raw intensity and sultry charisma, earning her an Academy Award nomination. In 1960, she won her first Oscar for Butterfield 8, in which she played a troubled New York call girl, a performance layered with emotional complexity. However, it was her role as Cleopatra in the 1963 epic Cleopatra that became one of the most talked-about chapters in both her career and personal life. Though the film was a financial challenge for the studio, it cemented Taylor's place as the highest-paid actress of her time and brought her into a passionate and controversial relationship with her co-star, Richard Burton. Their fiery romance, often described as one of the most infamous love stories in Hollywood history, resulted in 2 marriages and became the subject of global media fascination. The pair starred together in several films, including Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, 1966, for which Taylor won her second Academy Award, this time for Best Actress. Her performance in the film was a revelation, transforming her public image from glamorous starlet to serious powerhouse actress. Following the resounding critical and commercial triumph of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? In 1966, a film that not only solidified Elizabeth Taylor's reputation as a serious actress, but also earned her a second Academy Award, Taylor continued to dominate the silver screen, often appearing alongside her 5th and later 6th husband, Richard Burton. Their on-screen chemistry captivated audiences and critics alike, resulting in several high-profile films during the late 1960s. Among the most notable were The VIPS, 1963, a drama set in a London airport lounge where a group of elite travelers, including Taylor and Burton, confront deeply personal dilemmas. The Sandpiper, 1965, a romantic drama filmed against the stunning backdrop of Big Sur, California, which portrayed a bohemian single mother falling for a married Episcopalian priest, and The Taming of the Shrew, 1967, a lavish and spirited adaptation of Shakespeare's classic comedy directed by Franco Zeffirelli. These films were not only major box office draws, but also reinforced the couple's status as Hollywood royalty. Collectively, these cinematic ventures amassed an impressive total of $200 million worldwide, an extraordinary figure at the time and a testament to the power of their joint star appeal. However, the close of the 1960s marked a turning point in Taylor's career. Despite her enduring popularity, several of her subsequent films failed to resonate with audiences and critics, leading to disappointing box office returns. Among these missteps was Dr. Faustus, 1967, a dark and stylized retelling of the Faust legend that was criticized for its theatrical excesses and lack of narrative cohesion. The Comedians, 1967, a political drama set in Haiti and adapted from a Graham Greene novel, struggled under the weight of its heavy themes and sluggish pacing. Boom, 1968, based on a Tennessee Williams play, was an avant-garde piece in which Taylor played a dying heiress opposite Burton's enigmatic poet. It was widely panned for its surrealism and melodrama. Another flop, Reflections in a Golden Eye, 1967. A psychological drama directed by John Huston and co-starring Marlon Brando, was seen as too disturbing and ambiguous for mainstream tastes. Finally, The Only Game in Town, 1970, a romantic drama with Warren Beatty, failed to gain traction at the box office. These commercial failures marked the beginning of a decline in Taylor's dominance in theatrical cinema, as the film industry began to evolve and new Hollywood stars emerged. Throughout the 1970s, Taylor shifted her focus toward a blend of theatrical releases and made-for-television films, a format that was becoming increasingly popular and accessible to wide audiences. During this period, she began to experiment with a variety of roles that allowed her to explore different facets of her acting range, albeit within the constraints of television production. While none of these projects matched the scale or acclaim of her earlier work, they demonstrated her resilience and adaptability in a rapidly changing entertainment landscape. Taylor returned to the big screen in the 1980s with The Mirror Cracked, 1980, a British mystery film based on the Agatha Christie novel of the same name. In this movie, she portrayed Marina Rudd, a troubled film star entangled in a murder investigation, a role that subtly echoed elements of her own tumultuous life. Though the film received mixed reviews, Taylor's performance was noted for its depth and self-awareness. Later in the decade, she appeared in Malice in Wonderland, 1985, a television film in which she portrayed famed gossip columnist Luella Parsons, showcasing her ability to channel real-life figures with charisma and flair. Another notable TV movie was Poker Alice, 1987, a Western-themed drama in which she played a gambler and madam navigating the American frontier, an unusual role that added to her diverse portfolio. In 1994, Taylor made her final theatrical film appearance in The Flintstones, a live-action comedy based on the beloved animated series. In it, she took on the role of Pearl Slaghoople, Wilma Flintstone's sharp-tongued and high-society mother. While the film was primarily aimed at a younger audience and was far removed from the dramatic gravitas of her earlier roles, Taylor's participation added a touch of classic Hollywood glamour to the ensemble. It also marked a nostalgic closing chapter to her film career on the big screen. In 2007, Taylor made a notable return to the stage alongside legendary actor James Earl Jones in a special performance of A.R. Gurney's two-character play, Love Letters. This emotionally resonant piece, which consists of the lifelong correspondence between two characters, was staged for one night only at the Paramount Theater in Hollywood. The event was a major fundraiser for the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, the charitable organization she had founded in 1991. Her participation in the play not only demonstrated her enduring talent and theatrical sensibility, but also highlighted her tireless commitment to raising awareness and funds for HIV/AIDS, a cause she had championed long before it became a global movement. Elizabeth Taylor's love life was as dramatic and captivating as her illustrious acting career. Over the course of her life, she walked down the aisle 8 times, marrying 7 different men. Her first husband was Conrad Nicky Hilton Jr., heir to the famous Hilton Hotel fortune. They married in 1950 when Elizabeth was just 18 years old. This marriage, marked by youthful passion and intense media attention, was short-lived, ending in divorce after less than a year. Following Hilton, she married British actor Michael Wilding in 1952. This marriage lasted longer, about 5 years, and they had 2 sons together, Michael Howard and Christopher Edward. Wilding was her first stable relationship, though it too eventually succumbed to the pressures of fame and personal differences. Next came the charismatic and adventurous Mike Todd, a film producer who brought a new dimension of excitement and tragedy into Elizabeth's life. They married in 1957, and it was during this time that she experienced profound happiness with her daughter, Elizabeth Frances, nicknamed Liza. Todd's untimely death in a plane crash in 1958 devastated Elizabeth, marking one of the most heartbreaking chapters of her life. After a period of mourning, Elizabeth married singer and actor Eddie Fisher in 1959. This union was scandalous at the time, as Fisher had left his wife, actress Debbie Reynolds, for Elizabeth. Their marriage was filled with intense passion, but ended in divorce after 4 years. Arguably, the most famous and tumultuous marriages of her life were with the Welsh actor Richard Burton. They married twice, first in 1964 and then again in 1975, with a divorce in between in 1974. Their relationship was the epitome of Hollywood romance and drama, marked by grand gestures of love and equally public fights. Their passionate and volatile union captivated the world and was the subject of endless tabloid speculation. Elizabeth's other marriages included John Warner, a Virginia politician whom she married in 1976 and divorced in 1982, and finally Larry Fortensky, a construction worker she met at the Betty Ford Clinic, marrying him in 1991 and divorcing in 1996. Each marriage reflected a different stage of her life and personality, weaving a complex tapestry of love, loss, and resilience. Beyond her official marriages, Elizabeth Taylor's love life was dotted with affairs and relationships with some of the most powerful and influential men of her time. Her charm and beauty attracted eminent personalities from various fields, and she was known to have had romantic liaisons with people like Glenn Davis, a celebrated American athlete and football player, and Howard Hughes, the enigmatic billionaire aviator and industrialist. Her relationships extended into the realms of music and politics, including the legendary singer Frank Sinatra and the formidable statesman Henry Kissinger. One of her most intriguing relationships was with Malcolm Forbes, the billionaire publisher of Forbes magazine, illustrating how Elizabeth's allure transcended Hollywood to touch the worlds of business and diplomacy. These relationships often sparked media frenzy, highlighting the blend of glamour and controversy that surrounded her personal life. Despite the public scrutiny, Elizabeth Taylor was also a devoted mother. She was blessed with 4 children, 2 biological sons, Michael and Christopher, and 1 biological daughter, Elizabeth Liza Todd. Additionally, she adopted a girl named Maria, adding another layer to her role as a nurturing figure amid the chaos of her celebrity existence. Her children were a central focus of her life, and she often spoke about the importance of family, striving to provide love and stability despite the pressures of fame and her own complex relationships. Her motherhood was often seen as a grounding force, helping her navigate the ups and downs of a life lived very much in the spotlight. For decades, the love triangle between Elizabeth Taylor, Eddie Fisher, and Debbie Reynolds remained one of the most scandalous and hotly debated chapters in Hollywood history. Fans and journalists speculated, gossiped, and rehashed the affair endlessly, but Taylor herself remained largely tight-lipped, avoiding deep public commentary on the emotional wreckage it left behind. That is until years later, when Elizabeth Taylor, with the weight of reflection and maturity, finally opened up about the true complexity of her relationship with Eddie Fisher and what really happened behind the tabloid headlines. In a rare and candid moment, during a deeply personal interview in her later years, Elizabeth looked back on that time with both sorrow and candor. She confessed that her relationship with Eddie Fisher was never the grand romantic destiny the press had tried to portray. Rather, it was, in her words, a desperate grasp at comfort during the most devastating chapter of her life. Her beloved third husband, producer Mike Todd, had died suddenly in a tragic plane crash in 1958. Taylor, barely able to function under the weight of her grief, found herself inconsolable. Fisher, Todd's close friend and the husband of her best friend Debbie Reynolds, began to comfort her, frequently, intimately, and with an intensity that blurred the lines between sympathy and seduction. Elizabeth admitted that she had not been in love with Eddie Fisher in the traditional sense. She said it was not passion that drove them together, but pain, a shared sorrow that morphed into something neither of them fully understood at the time. "I was drowning," she explained, her voice trembling, "and Eddie threw me a lifeline. I didn't care where it came from or who else it hurt. I just didn't want to be alone." In her revealing statements, Taylor took responsibility for the hurt her actions caused, particularly to Debbie Reynolds. "I stole her husband," Elizabeth said bluntly. "There's no dressing that up. It was wrong. But I was in so much pain, I didn't care about right or wrong. I only cared about surviving another day." She emphasized that she never meant to betray Debbie, whom she had once considered a sister. Their relationship was irrevocably damaged, but as Taylor shared with heartfelt emotion, she was grateful that in time they reconciled. Reflecting on her marriage to Eddie, Elizabeth described it as short-lived and hollow. "It was built on grief, not love," she admitted. "It wasn't meant to last, and deep down I think we both knew it." Her honesty was as piercing as it was profound, peeling back the glamour and scandal to reveal the lonely, frightened woman behind the headlines. She recounted the emotional toll of living under the microscope, being called a homewrecker, a scarlet woman, and worse by the public and press. She carried that burden in silence for years, never speaking up to defend herself, until now. Her final word on the subject was not a justification, but a lesson. When you're young and broken, you make mistakes. Sometimes the world sees them as sins, but they're human mistakes, born of fear, heartbreak, and longing. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope people understand that I loved deeply, I lost deeply, and I lived with the consequences. With that deeply emotional revelation, Elizabeth Taylor finally laid to rest one of the most infamous chapters of her life, offering not just a confession, but a humanized truth from behind the diamonds, fame, and scandal that had defined her in the public eye. It was a rare moment of vulnerability from a woman known for her strength, and a final graceful coda to a story that had haunted her for half a century. Elizabeth Taylor's health battles began in the 1950s, setting the stage for a life filled with ongoing medical challenges that she faced with great resilience. As early as her 20s, she was enduring surgeries and hospital stays. She went on to undergo 20 major operations over the course of her life, ranging from spinal surgeries to treatment for a range of serious health conditions, including cancer. It wasn't uncommon for her to be hospitalized, and in fact, she was admitted to the hospital over 70 times in her lifetime. This staggering number of medical procedures and visits reflects the extent of her struggles, though she continued to live a life of high public visibility despite these hardships. Each operation added another layer to the physical toll of her celebrity status, but she never let her health conditions diminish her public persona or her will to live. One of her most significant health challenges occurred in 2004 when she was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. This condition, which prevents the heart from pumping blood effectively, would go on to affect her for the remainder of her life. As a survivor of multiple illnesses, including a near-fatal battle with pneumonia in 1961, Elizabeth had grown accustomed to health battles, but this diagnosis was particularly sobering. It marked a turning point where her health began to noticeably decline. Despite her diagnosis, she continued to maintain an active role in her charitable work, particularly in the fight against HIV/AIDS, though her physical stamina was beginning to wane. In 2009, her heart condition worsened, and she was forced to undergo heart surgery. This procedure, though successful, highlighted the fragility of her health. In the years that followed, Elizabeth's health